What's going on, Washington fans? Welcome to Bleacher Report. I'm Josh Taylor at Josh Taylor FB. If you don't follow me on Twitter or X already, I've been doing these streams for a little while now. And of course, Washington comes back, bounces back in a big way on the road against the Patriots, who might not be one of the better teams in the NFL. Of course, got a lot of things to talk about. Sam Howell's performance, obviously, I think he looked good. How was the defense first game without Chase Young and Montez Sweat? Obviously, that's what the eyes were on, that the two defensive ends and how they would perform. I was just rotating some guys in. So a lot to talk about, but nonetheless, Washington gets the win, 20-17. It was, in my opinion, I had a feeling this was going to be one of those games where it was going to be a lower scoring game. You know, two teams that struggle on both sides of the ball. The Patriots have been really bad offensively for a while now. This, in my opinion, was a game for Washington to kind of get back. Like, this was a get-right game, you know, with Forbes, some of these other rookies coming in and getting the chance to play, even with the trades and everything going on. We knew that we would see some more playing time for a couple people. This is supposed to be like our building. Like, we're all in on building now. Like, this is it. We're supposed to see how everybody looks, kind of feel out some rookies. Obviously, see how Sam looks for the rest of the season. That's one thing I said on Twitter not too long ago. Like, this is Sam Howell's audition for the rest of the season. And, of course, it sounds like ownership came out and said that they feel like Sam is the guy. They feel like Sam's the guy moving forward and that they're going to build around him, which is great to hear. And, of course, Sam actually, looked the part today. So I got a couple polls that I'll go through with y'all. And then, obviously, I'm going to bring up some stats and just really break down how the game went through. Like I said, there's just a lot to talk about with this game. Wasn't the most exciting game by any means. The refs sure did interfere a lot. There's a lot of questionable calls, a lot of really bad calls, ones that weren't called, and then some that had no reason being called at all. But I'm gonna break it down for y'all. The vibe around this team was what were we gonna see? A lot of fans have already been checked out. A lot of fans kind of just been like, I don't know. I'm fine with just tanking. I don't want to win games anymore. But for me, I'm not a loser. I don't like losing games, especially if it's going to be to a team like the Patriots. But nonetheless, the team actually looked good, expectations-wise, what I had going into this game. Like I said, 20-17 wasn't the craziest, most exciting game by any means. YTN, Durrell, 1-2-3 said most mid-game of the season. Like I said, it wasn't one that just had me going crazy the entire time. So I don't disagree with you. Sam Howell, the GOAT, said that Quan Martin, he said Quan Martin, the GOAT, seals the game. Heineke looking fire right now for the Falcons. We're not talking about Heineke, man. We're going to talk about Sam Howell because he was on fire. I want to say he had a perfect game. He almost had a perfect game. But there's a couple things that Sam did that I didn't like. But nonetheless, I think Sam Howell played phenomenal. And I'm going to go ahead and drop this for y'all. I want y'all to grade Sam Howell's performance today because that's been a lot of the talk. Obviously I said some things on social media that got a lot of people riled up, said some things on the last stream. But in my opinion, this was Sam Howell's – the rest of the season was Sam Howell impressing the ownership, impressing whoever the new GM and new head coach is going to be, and just making a statement saying, like, look, guys, I'm the quarterback of the future. And it came out that it sounds like ownership, Josh Harris more importantly, really like Sam Howell, that they think he's the guy moving forward. So I want y'all to go ahead and grade Sam Howell's performance today. You give it an A, B, C, or D, and that's where we will start. There's a lot of talks about Joseph Burkett said 0 pass rush. And Sealy said our linebackers suck. Some people say Howell is him. I'll take a win. A win is a win. A win is a win, says Doug Alicious. What's going on, Doug? But Dan is right. It was a pretty ugly one. In my opinion, that was the most Patriot Commanders game you could have come up with, honestly. But I want to start out with Sam. I'm going to talk about Sam Howell. I'm going to talk about Johan Dodson because y'all know I love Johan. Got his helmet over there. Everyone knows I'm a Johan stan. I've been getting, mentions and DMs like, what's going on with your boy Johan? Like, what's wrong with him? Stuff like that. And then, of course, I'm going to talk about the defense. Talk about the rookies that stepped up. And then talk about how bad the refs just are in general. But let me go ahead and share the screen. Let's take a look at some stats. See what we got cooking for Sam Howell. 29 for 45. I always go over Sam Howell's passing attempts because it's usually like low 30s and it always goes over. 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 3 sacks for 17 yards. How would I sum up Sam Howell's performance? I'll say this. The offensive line has been a lot better. than it obviously was ever since Gates got replaced with Tyler Larson. And same once Chris Paul started at left guard, the offensive line has been much better. I would say 2 of the sacks today were on Sam just holding the ball a little bit too long. But, he's working on that. I'm not too mad at him because he made up with it with some other big plays. So I'm not going to it wasn't like 6 or 7 sacks like we've had in the past. 3 sacks, I'll allow it. Not bad. But the 325 yards, I know only 1 touchdown, that 1 interception I'm going to talk about, obviously. But Sam Howell, once he gets into a rhythm, that's the one thing I noticed so much with him. He gets in such a rhythm. He has the most precise throws. He just moves down the field methodically, and he did it all game long. And then that 1 interception happened at before halftime. Really bad throw, by the way. But before that, we had all these timeouts. Clock was going down. There was no reason to call a hurry up, no reason to force that. Ron Rivera, once again, should have called a timeout. Absolutely no reason not to. There was like 20-something seconds back. Howell coming back from something. Sam Howell. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, Sam Howell, I think, looked much better, since that Bills game where he looked awful. I think Sam Howell's finding a rhythm now. You see his development with Eric Bieniemy. But the thing with Sam is you can't throw that ball in the end zone. And he wasn't trying to throw it away or anything. Ron Rivera even said it after halftime. He was trying to force it to Johan Dodson. But still, as a head coach, you have to call that timeout, slow down. You have a young quarterback once again. Like, hey, guys, we're good. We're moving down the field. We're in position to score. Let's just slow down. There's no reason to just keep this fast pace going and force a bad throw like that for Sam. Like, Ron Rivera should have called a timeout, straight up. But outside of that interception, you saw Sam Howell make some crazy throws. And that's the thing with Sam coming out of college. What I loved about him was his ball placement, his touch, the velocity which he throws with. They all go together. I don't understand why fans would be upset about this win. A win is a win. I know there's a couple of fans that have said, like, oh, we want to go ahead and we want the top 5 pick. Let's go ahead and tank, blah, 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 blah. That's not a thing in a professional level, guys. I hate to tell you this. Guys who put their, bodies on the line don't just tank for teams. Like, that just doesn't happen. So I'm happy for a win. Like, I still think we'll have like a top 10 pick. I don't see us going on some magical, playoff run or anything like that, guys. But still, like, this is what I wanted to see against a bad team. I think the Patriots are a pretty bad team. And obviously, I don't think they have the best offense in the league. They've struggled all season long. They've been one of the biggest roller coasters on offense. But I really like what I saw out of Sam Howell. This is a gritty Patriots defense. Really gritty. I mean, I watched the game against the Bills. I watched the game against the Dolphins that they had. I've tuned in a couple times to watch them, on Sundays when we're not playing at the same time. And that's the one thing. Even without Gonzalez, they are a gritty team. I know they're down Judon, they're down Gonzalez, but still, this is a really good defense that just finds a way to make plays. And, outside of that interception and Brian Robinson, the big fumble that really swung the momentum big time for us, I thought the Patriots defense looked good today too, but secondary, Sam Howell was just picking them apart. Like, Sam Howell was just finding the windows, guys were getting open, and he wasn't perfect by any means. No one's going to be. Yeah, there were some big time, misses late in the game. He had Johan Dodson open on that 3rd down where he went to try to go Diami in that right sideline, which Diami just can't catch for whatever reason anymore. Jay Rock said not a good showing against a bad team. See, that's the thing. I think the Patriots have a bad offense, but I don't think they were a, quote unquote bad team. Like, they're not like the Cardinals right now or the Vikings right now with everybody hurt. Like, I don't think the Patriots are that bad, especially they're at home. Crowd was hyped today. Everyone said it was a good showing by Patriots fans. Like, I wanted to see us play like this against a team like the Patriots. Like, this is a team we should beat. And the typical Washington thing to do is to lose to a team like this that we should beat. And then we look good against the Eagles, and then we'll lose to a bad team. Like, that is what happens to us every single season. But Brian Robinson, 18 carries for 63 yards, 1 touchdown. Like I said, he had that one bad fumble that really swung things for us. But receiving game, that's where I'm going to. Terry, doing Terry things, 5 catches, 73 yards. And then Jahan, of course, everyone, like I said, everyone's talking about Johan. Like, Josh, how come Johan's dropping everything? What's going on with your boy Johan? Johan, 4 catches, 69 yards, 1 touchdown. Still a couple drops. He had 8 targets. Some of them were a little bit behind him. Some hit him in the hands, which I think he should have caught. There was one where Howell just threw it deep when there was offsides, and it looked like he was going to do like a one-handed catch falling out of bounds. That's when Johan usually catches. Okay, but if he's going to bounce back and make some of these other crazy throws like he does and score touchdowns, I can't be but so mad. Yeah, it hurts when these drops happen on like 3rd and long or whatever, but still, I still think Johan, it's a sophomore slump right now. A lot of wide receivers going through it. Garrett Wilson, maybe because of the quarterback play, but Chris Olave, Drake London, there's a lot of sophomore wide receivers playing pretty bad right now. But nonetheless, I don't think Johan Dodson is bad. I think Johan Dodson makes plays when he has to, and he's working on them drops. He had the best hands in his whole draft class. He had the lowest drop rate out of all of them, out of Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Drake London, like those guys I mentioned. He had the lowest drop rate out of all those guys. So I'm not worried about Johan Dodson. But offensively, I like what I saw out of the offense. I think the offensive line playing at a much better level really helps us out, especially in the run game. We saw that. We saw that last week, and we saw it a little bit more this week. You know, I do think our running game still could be better. Gibson had a couple little nice burst plays, and then, of course, B-Rob had that wide open run for the touchdown on the right side. But still, like, I want more out of our running game. And maybe it comes with some screens, a little bit more screens and stuff like that. But nonetheless, let's see what y'all gave Sam Howell's grade. 69% nice said B, 28% said A, and then 3%, I don't know why I said a D for Sam Howell's grade. Absolutely nuts to me because I think he played really good. Let's talk about the defense. And I'll start with specifically on the defensive line because that's where a lot of people are going to. I see a lot of things in here. Josh, we had no sacks. What's going on? Blah, blah, blah. We shouldn't have traded away Chase and Montez. Like, I get it. Like, we've talked about that. I've done many streams showing y'all, like, why it was the right decision. Like, we are past the trade part. But let's look at a more in-depth look. Mac Jones, 24 for 44. 1 touchdown, the interception at the end of the game. Shout out to Quan Martin, by the way. This is why you play your rookies. Percy Butler has been really bad. That's something I said today on Twitter at Josh Taylor FB. I said, you know, Percy Butler's been really bad this season in coverage and in the run game. So why, like, even with Forrest hurt, why are we not seeing more Quan Martin out on the field to where, like, we can at least see what we have in him? And this is why they drafted him in the 2nd round, because he got a lot of interceptions, got a lot of pass breakups. When he was at Illinois, like, that's what he was known for. He was that guy who could just play all over the field, kind of like an outfielder for them. He played up high sometimes, played like single high safety by himself sometimes. Like, that's what Martin did at Illinois. And that's why I wanted to see more of him, because Washington's been missing this free safety, this outfielder that can play by himself out there and not give up these big plays. We saw it against the Ravens. He had that nice interception in the preseason in the end zone. I know it was just preseason, but that's what I wanted to see, and that's why I'm glad we saw that at the end of the game. We saw before that they brought a blitz with him, and he got a lot of pressure on Mac Jones. He was right there. Mac Jones threw a bad pass. Like, you can get pressure with not only your defensive linemen and your really bad linebackers, who I'm going to talk about, but you can bring some safety blitzes. You can bring some corners sometimes. We saw the Patriots try it a couple times. You can do that. And I'm just glad we got to see somewhat of Quan Martin. I hope his snap count increases moving forward. Obviously, the big one to talk about is Quan Martin. You know, we saw him post the Instagram post saying, like, I'm back. So I told y'all it sounds like he's going to start. He ended up starting today, and he actually looked pretty good. He dropped the 1 interception, but for the most part, he was on Tyquan Thornton, who had 4 targets, 1 catch, 7 yards. I know it's not A.J. Brown. Like, I'm not, like, you know, celebrating, saying, like, thank God we got our first-round quarterback. But for a guy whose confidence was just completely shot recently, that was really good to see. Quan Martin, at least, I mean, not Quan. They trusted Forbes to at least get on the field, finally, like, get some more playing time and say, like, look, this is the only way he's going to learn. And if you trade away 2 of your best defensive players, you go into this mode of, like, we're going to, like, move forward and build around this team, you have to play him. There's zero reason not to play Forbes. If he looks really bad, then who cares? Will_11 said Forbes, the ball hawk, had an easy pick but dropped it. Yeah, he should have picked that one. I'm trying to think who was on him. I think it was Rager that really helped break it up, but still he should have called her to hit his hands twice. That's like 3 dropped interceptions he has. Like he would have like 4 or 5 right now if he, actually caught some of those. C Money said Forbes did great. And once again, like I know, like we went from watching like Gonzalez, we saw Joey Porter Jr., he didn't get a lot of snap counts and he came out. Now he's starting. We saw him against D-Hop and seeing like that battle, how much fun that was on Thursday night. So of course you're going to compare those 2 guys, even like Banks. We're gonna compare Banks. We're gonna compare any of these 2 guys, Brian Branch in the second round. All these guys are going to get compared to Forbes for the rest of his career probably. So you go from seeing that, like I would have loved to see Forbes, a little bit more on DeMario Douglas, a little bit more on Smith-Schuster, just rotating around a little bit, just feeling them out, both sidelines, doing a little bit more with them. Heck, bring them on a blitz sometimes. Like, who knows? Like, just see what you have in the guy. Let's see. Douglas 06 says Jamin becomes lost without a middle linebacker. Without Cole Holcomb, he struggled. And without Barton, he has struggled. Got bailed out a bit with Mac Jones' bad throws. Yeah, it was a couple. And that one big run by Ramondre Stevenson where they were supposed to do like a stunt. David Mayo and Jamin Davis, it was just a really bad stunt. It was wide open to where like that was the easiest run of Stevens' life, honestly. The linebacker play is really bad. And I'm not going to sit here and say that Jamin Davis is just bad. He's a bust. We need to move on from him or whatever. But I really want to see what Jamin Davis looks like with a guy like a Jeremiah Trotter Jr. or Barrett Carter or any of these top linebacker prospects that I think we will, pursue in that first 2-3 rounds. Like I would love to see him with a rangy coverage guy or Adrian Cooper out of Texas A&M, like one of these top guys, a coverage linebacker that isn't such a liability like a Mayo. And Mayo's not bad in stopping the run. It's just he's such a liability everywhere else. Like David Mayo is not a starting linebacker in this league. I'm sorry. Like once again, if it's a run up the middle, sometimes he can be there. But if it's any kind of coverage play, like I have zero faith in Mayo. But I want to see what Jamin Davis can do. And I know like he's been on this team for a long time. He's supposed to be this freak athlete. Like we're all over like the time it takes for him to develop. Like we need more out of Jamin Davis. But I'm telling you guys, I really want to see what he looks like with a legit, help at linebacker. Because there's so much that he has to cover. And he's going out on these wheel routes with running backs. Like he's covering these tight ends. And can you explain to these nerds that Taylor Heineke is not the guy and needs to be left out in the dust? And it's funny because his name's just brought up all the time. You'll get used to it. Literally every stream we hear about Heineke. I hope he does well in Atlanta. But I really want to see what Jamin Davis does with some more help at linebacker. And I think that is a big-time concern moving forward. I think that the new regime, it's not going to be Ronald Rivera, moving forward is going to want to get some actual help at the linebacker spot. Like I said, this is a really good, I don't want to say deep linebacker draft. There's actually a lot of guys that I love in this draft at the linebacker spot. So I think it's a need that's going to get covered. Like I think this is the last season of us struggling at linebacker. We're going to get a real defensive coordinator in here. We're going to get a real head coach in here, a real GM that knows how to build a roster and draft some guys. So I'm excited about that. But overall, defensively, I wanted to see what these defensive ends could do. And of course, once again, I'll go back to the top. Mac Jones not sacked a single time. But and the people that didn't watch the game are going to go to that and be like, oh my God, why did we trade Chase and Montez? 0 sacks. KJ Henry, I want to say this. KJ Henry had one of the best pass rushing attempts I have seen on this team this season. And it was the worst penalty I've ever seen in the history of the NFL. Hitting Mac Jones from his blind spot, who still has the ball, by the way. A perfect textbook tackle, sack, a forced fumble in his first ever game for us. One of his first ever pass rushing attempts. Had a beautiful swim move to the outside, great bend around the tackle, and he just lays out Mac Jones, and they call it roughing the passer because they didn't like how he landed on him because he hit him too hard, which was the worst call I've ever seen in my life. But I just want to say KJ Henry got some juice to him, which good. You traded up in the 5th to get him. So I'm like, we should see what we've gotten out of them. Jack Del Rio said they're going to rotate. They're going to play everybody. And he said KJ Henry was the one question mark that he's had because they didn't know, what they have in him because he hasn't played. Let me check the poll real quick. Grade the defensive line's performance. 53% of the people said C, majority, and then split between B and D. Someone said A. Honestly, if I had to grade the defensive line's performance, I'd probably say a C+. Once again, we're not getting that pass rush from John Allen or Deron Payne, which sucks. But I do like what I saw out of KJ Henry, and then James Smith-Williams. I think he got banged up a little bit in the game. I liked what I saw out of him at first too. But once again, those two guys in the middle, those are the leaders. They have to lead by example. And I get it, like every play, they're not going to be rushing the passer because that just gives up way too much in the middle. Sometimes you're supposed to play gap integrity. You're supposed to just stand the guy up and just fill in the hole. And they didn't really, they had 107 yards rushing, but outside of that one long that Ramondre Stevenson has a long of 64, that 64-yard run. Outside of that, they couldn't do anything on the ground against us. 6 carries, 17 yards. So if Mayo and Jamin Davis don't have that terrible whatever kind of they played it like it was against the pass. Like it looked like they're supposed to be like a stunt as the linebackers. It looked like some kind of pass rush in a running play. And Ramondre Stevenson had that wide open gap. Percy Butler missed a tackle really bad. But outside of that, they didn't run the ball on us. So kudos for that, because Ramondre Stevenson and Ezekiel Elliott, it's not a bad duo. And they don't have that bad of an offensive line. I think it's underrated. They don't have like these household names once again, but still, I think it was much better than I expected it to be. There was no runs to the outside. There was no runs given up, on the edge, whether it was KJ Henry, Smith-Williams, Hill, whoever. But yeah, I would have loved to see more sacks. I would have loved to see a little bit more pressure. There's too many times where Mac Jones had too much time in the pocket. So it's the first game without those two guys. First game with a lot of guys rotating in, some rookies, some guys that didn't get any playing time before. So I can't be but so mad. Like, it is what it is. This is why we have the rest of the season to see what we have in those edge rushers. And if we don't like it, we'll get a Jared Verse, Braylon Trice, Chop Robinson, Dallas Turner, one of these guys in the first 2 rounds, or we'll go get Brian Burns, or we'll throw some money at someone like that, AJ Spenza. Like, there's a lot of options. Maybe we just get one guy in the offseason and roll with KJ Henry or Andre Jones or Hill. And a lot of these guys are free agents too. So just think about that. But I think the rest of the season, it's great to see what Sam Howell looks like, but it's also good to see what that defensive end looks like on both sides moving forward. So overall, I don't think the defensive line was that bad today. I didn't expect them. I said hot take. I think they'll have 4 sacks today. I think that was a hot take. I don't think it's reasonable to have 4 sacks, after what just happened. But I like what I saw out of KJ Henry, and I want to see more. Like, that was really good technique by KJ Henry. Ignore that flag, man. Pin your ears back like you did on that play and do that every single time. Like, that is what we need moving forward. Let's take a look. Let me go ahead. Grade the overall defense. The one thing that was really struggling, obviously the linebackers are bad, and I talked about the linebackers. I said this too. The secondary, it seems like what's missing. Obviously, we want Forbes to play up to that first-round level. But I think Washington is really missing a free safety, like an overall free safety that can help out Cam Curl. Yes, fire Jack Del Rio already. Randy Butler, our linebackers are the worst. I was there. First row, Davis is a bust as of right now. He didn't do anything. All-star wide receivers drop way too many balls. So yeah, like I've talked about Jamin, I've talked about Mayo and Khalil Hudson. Those aren't starting linebackers in the NFL. They just aren't. I think Jamin Davis can be. I think we don't blitz Jamin Davis enough. And I just think that we haven't done a good job, one, developing Jamin Davis, but then also using him in a good spot with a linebacker that can help him out. What makes Fred Warner and Greenlaw so good? They have each other to help each other out. Now, I think they're both phenomenal linebackers. I think they'll succeed on any team. But what takes them from really good to special is having them play together. They know how each other plays. They can really lean on each other and depend on each other. I'm telling you, if you had like Fred Warner and David Mayo, like Fred Warner would still be a baller, but he'd be like, bro, I need some help out here. There's no way y'all gave me him. We thought that DeForest last year, what happened to DeForest? So I like Forrest. I like Defoe. I think he played really well last year. He's hurt right now. He's still on IR, I think. But even beginning of this season, he didn't look good. There was a lot of missed coverages. There was a lot of missed tackles by him. Like, if he turns out good, great. But once again, he's a late round guy. There's not too much that you expect out of him. But beginning of season, like the Mims touchdown over the top, that was blown coverage on him. Like, Percy Butler was like, "Where the heck are you?" Like, everyone was in zone, but he was in man for some reason, and he bit up front, and Marvin Mims had that wide open touchdown deep. Like, I know it's one play, but there's been so many instances this season that before he got hurt, like, Derek Forrest looked bad. Like I said, missing tackles, missing coverages. Washington needs that free safety, and it could be Quan Martin. That's the good news. It could be Quan Martin. But Washington needs that guy that can cover deep by himself, to where he can play some more, big nickel. Maybe you can play more just, single safety high looks, but also, has that range to do so, but also can play up front if he needs to, which is what I think Quan Martin can be. I think Quan Martin has that range. He has that speed. Once again, you saw it today. Kendall Fuller tipped up that pass, and he came up and got a good interception, great range. So I think Quan Martin can be good. But once again, if you don't play him, you don't know what you have in him. So do I have faith in Percy Butler and Forrest? Not really. I think Forrest is a guy that can rotate in and be good. I think he can get some big plays for you, but he's not a guy that needs 100% of snaps playing opposite of Cam Curl. Like, I think Forrest is a guy that if we don't pay Cam Curl for whatever reason, then Forrest could be the guy that takes over that strong safety spot. But from what I have heard, like, paying Cam Curl is absolutely in their cards. Like, that's part of their plans. Like, they want to pay Cam Curl. It's just they want to see what the market looks like. They want to, feel it out, see how it looks the rest of the season. Maybe they wait for the new GMs and stuff to get here, but I don't think they do. I think, like, right at the end of the season, like, Cam Curl needs to be paid. I think he should be paid, and then they want to pay him. But you need somebody opposite of him that can, not give up these blown coverages and miss these tackles, because we're seeing it way too much out of those two guys with Forrest and Percy Butler. Percy Butler's just been borderline, like, unplayable throughout the season. I hate to say it. But once again, like a fifth-round guy, what do you expect out of him? He wasn't really projected to be, like, that guy that can play single high by himself. He's a little bit bigger. Like, I think he's a better strong safety, kind of like what Cam Curl is. I think we have too many guys that play that same position. But I'm not saying it's, like, a top need for us. Like I said, you just don't know what you have in Quan Martin. But I'd say what I got out of this game today was Sam Howell looks the part of being the guy moving forward, which is great news. Like I said, the ownership sounds like they are all in on Sam Howell moving forward. It is such a luxury having a guy not only just drafted in the 5th round, but a guy on a rookie contract that you can spend all this money on other positions. You can go get a vet linebacker if you don't want to draft one. If someone becomes available, if there's one out there in free agency you want, you can go spend a lot of money on them. Once again, if by some means Brian Burns hits free agency, like he's been centered around a lot of trade talk for the last few years now, if Burns hits the free agent market, you are allowed to go give him 25, 26 mil a year to come play defensive end for you because you have a quarterback on a rookie contract. Same thing with wide receiver. If you don't pay Curtis Samuel and you want to go get a T. Higgins or something, you can do that. So it's a big time blessing. That's one of the biggest blessings in the NFL is having a quarterback that's really good, that's a starter that can play on a rookie contract for a few years for you. And that's what the 49ers are doing right now with Brock Purdy. They have him that they can just spend money on Chase Young. They can give Bosa like the most money ever. They can do those kind of things. So moving forward, I just want to see how this team reacts. A lot of people thought this team would give up because, we traded Chase and Montez. Season's over. Like, we're not going to make the playoffs. What do you expect the rest of the season? But I just really want to see how this team just looks moving forward, how they react, and obviously Sam Howell's growth. I think that's the most important thing the rest of the season is just developing Sam Howell. And I think Eric Bieniemy, I've had a lot of people ask me, well, is Eric Bieniemy going to be head coach? Is he gone? Like, what's going to happen? I think he's here next year. I think he's going to be offensive coordinator next year. I think he plays a big part in Sam Howell's development. And I think they know that too. Like, that it doesn't go unnoticed. I say just pay someone for sign stealing, save a bunch of money that way. No, we're not going the Michigan route. We should feel confident about Sam being our future and just build around him. If not, at least draft a late round QB. And that's what a lot of people are mad at, like saying like there was, I think, 24 teams were represented at that USC and Washington game last night, watching Michael Penix Jr. and watching Caleb Williams. And that was my clip that I posted on Twitter that got a lot of people mad, was, like it or not, Sam Howell is being auditioned for the rest of the season for the new regime that comes in. Like if he just crapped the bed and looked bad the rest of the season, do you really think a new GM, whether it's Louis Riddick or whoever comes in here next season, is like, yeah, let's just roll with Sam one more season and see what we have? Heck no. They're going to want to draft their guy. So that's why I'm saying it's so important for Sam to look good the rest of the season, and I think he will, and he looked phenomenal today outside of that one bad interception. They're not going to hold that against him. That, like, he's part of the plans moving forward. So that's what got a lot of people mad. But it's just how this business works. I'm not saying, oh, Sam's on a tightrope, like Sam's on a leash. If he has one bad game, that's it. He's not, like, we need to bench him. He's not a future. No, that's how this business works. That's how the people think. If I don't have my quarterback and if I don't feel confident in who I have as quarterback, I'm going to draft one. We get all those extra picks. We're probably going to have a top 10 pick anyways. We can trade up and get our guy. But I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think we're going to finish the top 10 pick. I think they're going to love Sam Howell moving forward. I think they're going to get a future left tackle or right tackle, whether it's Olu Fashanu, Joe Alt, or if you want Talise Fuaga, the right tackle, or Patrick Paul, Chris Paul's brother, a really good left tackle, probably a top 40 pick in the NFL draft. Put him next to his brother at left tackle. Like, there's a lot of moves you can do. Maybe you trade up and get Brock Bowers or Marvin Harrison Jr. You know how crazy that would be to have Marvin Harrison Jr., Terry, and then Johan in the slot. Like, there's no way Sam Howell's not thriving in that system. He just chucks it up to one of them every time. Has an OC ever rolled over to a new regime? I'll have to look, because it's more than just a new regime. Like, we have a new ownership group. There's only so much they could do before the season, change-wise, because of the timing. So they kind of had to roll into the season with like, we'll see Ron Rivera and all this. You know, we'll see what happens. So it's more likely going to be new head coach, new defensive coordinator, new GM, and maybe new VP if Hurney gets replaced. So what I think is going to happen, what I hope happens, is Ron Rivera's gone before the season even ends, and you at least give Eric Bieniemy a chance, maybe 4 or 5 games, to be that interim head coach, and let him interview for that head coaching spot. And even if it goes to somebody else, you know, he can stay here as offensive coordinator. Maybe he gets head coaching interviews elsewhere. Maybe he just stays here as offensive coordinator. You never know. But you have to at least give him the opportunity to interview for it and audition for it by being the interim head coach. If Ron's not in your plans moving forward, and you should pretty much know by now if he is or isn't, and he shouldn't be, then let him get that chance to be that guy, like, moving forward. And I think he'll be offensive coordinator. I think they'll get some guy like Ben Johnson or someone like that in here as a head coach next season. So it's more than just, you know, rolling over to a new regime. There's going to be a whole new process. How can anyone say Howell can't or won't be our next guy? There's still people that don't believe in Sam Howell. I fully believe in Sam Howell. I'm probably Sam Howell's biggest fan, y'all. Like, I absolutely love Sam Howell. He was my favorite player to scout. I met with him at the Senior Bowl. Got a good time getting to know him. Love his tape. Just enjoy him as a person and love him as a player. But you just never know how a new regime or new GM is going to think. But him looking good right now helps a ton. So that's what I'm saying. If he looks really bad the rest of the season, though, you never know. Do I think it's going to happen, though? No. I think they will move forward with Sam Howell, and Josh Harris even came out and said, you know, talking to Diana Rossini, I think it was, saying that they loved what they see out of Sam Howell, and their plans are moving forward, building around him, which is exactly what I want to hear. Build that offensive line. Get him some more weapons. Get him an actual tight end. Depending on what happens with Curtis Samuel, maybe get him another wide receiver. Give me an elusive back because Gibson's probably going to be gone. And watch him thrive. Let him develop. He has a cannon of an arm, and let him show it. So I appreciate y'all hanging out. It's been a good time. Let's just see the last poll real quick. The defense is split. 45% said B, 45% said C. Not mad at it. I think the edge, you know, not getting any pressure kind of brings it down. Josh Red Solo Cup Harris. Yeah, Josh Harris be on one sometime, but still love him to death. But I appreciate y'all coming by. I'll be back next week after the game to take a look at everything. And then we've got some big games coming up. You got the Giants, and then you got the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. Like November is going to be a big month. Coming into some big time competition. Once again, I'm not expecting us to go on some playoff run or anything like that, but I just want to see how this team looks moving forward, and how Sam Howell develops. That's the thing I love the most. So I appreciate y'all stopping by, and I'll see y'all next time here on Bleacher Report. Peace.
Underdog Fantasy is the best place to participate in all of your fantasy contests, whether it's the NFL, MLB, PGA Golf, NBA, even college football. This user-friendly app, you can win up to 20 times your money in a single night. And my favorite part is that when you sign up in your first deposit and you use my promo code JTFB, they will double your first deposit up to $100. Now, how does it work? You pick lower or higher on stat projections that Underdog Fantasy gives you, whether it's passing yards, rebounds, points, you name it. And for each selection, say you want to select 3 people or 4 people, your odds go up based off of how many you select. My favorite feature, however, is sometimes I want to make 4 selections and I'm not feeling too confident in all of them. I love taking advantage of the Pick'em insurance to where if I miss one pick in my contest, I still get paid out on lower odds. So sign up today, download the app, and use my promo code JTFB to get up to $100 in your first deposit.